I kid you not, I am not a fan of crickets. Never have, never will be. Well, not never have. I actually remember the exact point in my life where I stopped being a fan of crickets. I'm gonna tell you that tale today. But before I do, a little introduction. You are out hiking with me. We're in the middle of Queens, New York, right in Forest Park. And I'm looking for a majestic view, something that I would really like to share with you guys. And being out here hiking got me thinking about this event in my life, this event involving crickets. I like to refer to it as the Pennsylvania cricket incident. It was about 2003, it was the summer. I was traveling with my family and we were in Pennsylvania. We ended up at an antique mall right off one of the major routes out there. And directly across from this little antique mall was a sheds sales place. Like it was a big field and they had all these sheds set up. Anyway, I'm gonna tell you this story, but what I'd like to do is flip the camera around and present it to you the way that I remember seeing it, which was looking down, walking through the woods. So my dad, he just pulled into this big asphalt parking lot. He hops out and he heads straight for the antique mall, which is basically like this big red barn with a bunch of different little shops that have their own kinds of antiques. He wanted to look inside, but my mom and I, we wanted to explore the outdoors a little more. That's kind of the whole reason we went to Pennsylvania in the first place. So my mom and I, we head in the opposite direction across the asphalt lot. And then all of these sheds are lined up in nice even rows on a big gravel field. Now these were not your normal average sheds. These sheds were all really nice, beautiful colors. Some of them were multiple floors. Some of them were built like tree houses. I get the brilliant idea to start walking down these tight little gravel paths to go explore the sheds that are in the back that I can't see from the asphalt lot. Now what you see here right now, it was very similar to the way this ground looks, only imagine just a lot more gravel. It was a gravel lot, but there was some overgrowth. There were leaves all over the place, green leaves. Now as I took my first couple steps, I wasn't looking down at the ground, I was looking around at the sheds. But in my bottom peripheral vision, I noticed some of these leaves, these green leaves, were moving around. They were it looked like they were jumping. I ventured out further, but I noticed more and more of these green leaves were jumping around all over the place. So now I look down and I see on my legs, a bunch of these green leaves have landed on my legs. It took me about 2 seconds to realize these were not the green leaves that I thought they were. They were crickets and grasshoppers. And I freaked out. Bursting out of the little path from in between the sheds back into the asphalt lot to where I thought I was safe. My mom, she heard me crying, she heard me screaming, she came over, she tried to console me, but it was too late. The damage was done. Now maybe you think that's the end of the story, but oh no, it gets better. 10 years later, I go back to Pennsylvania with my family. We're vacationing in the same spot and we end up at an antique mall. As we get out and we start walking towards it, I look on the other side of the lot and I see rows and rows of sheds. That was all I needed to see for my brain to unlock the floodgate of angst and anger and feelings of betrayal. Being 20 years old this time around, I decided to break out my cell phone and record a little documentary about what happened. For those of you who have heard the encounter with the crickets and grasshoppers in Pennsylvania when I was a child, I don't know if I'm brave enough to go down, but see, they're moving around. I don't know if you can see it, but there's white moths moving around, flying all over the place. In this video, I retraced my steps and I walked the same path I'd been on about 10 years earlier, the fateful day that all happened. And what I saw when I got to the sheds was that the company that sold them all, Kramer Sheds, shared the last name of one of my best friends from high school and one of the only other people I'd ever told the story to. Was it a coincidence? I'm sure it was. Maybe. Regardless, I'm gonna let bygones be bygones because I have made it to that beautiful, majestic spot I wanted to show everybody. Magnificent. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this stroll, or rather sprint down memory lane away from crickets. This is something that changed my level of comfort in the outdoors for the rest of my life. So I hope you consider subscribing because I share stories like this every Thursday. And if you don't subscribe, you're either a cricket or a Kramer. You don't want to be one of those two things, do you?